Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Zach Smocha, and I'm managing the product team at Rescale. Thank you so much for joining our webinar for running Six Sigma AT and Six Sigma DSX in the cloud of Rescale. So the agenda would be covering quickly who are the presenters. Then we're going to have a quick overview about Rescale. For those that don't know Rescale, and then we're going to focus the majority of the webinar on live examples and presentation about how to run Six Sigma DCX and Six Sigma ET on the cloud with Rescale. Few administration updates. So if you have any questions, then feel free to submit them for the webinar interface. We'll answer the questions at the end of the session. So we're very excited to have Tom Gregory and Mark Fenton join us from Future Facilities. Both are product managers in Future Facilities. As I mentioned, my name is Zach. I'm running the product team here at Rescale. So a quick overview about Rescale. Rescale was founded by two founders that actually work for Boeing. They were working on the design of 787 of the Boeing 787 wing design, and as part of that, they needed to have access to HPC on premise, and after that, the vision was to really make sure that we can provide HPC on the cloud for simulation. So Rescale is based in San Francisco. We have an office in Japan. We have about 36 data centers worldwide and over 100 leading enterprises with a strong team of investors behind the company. The vision of Rescale is really to help with accelerate engineering time and time to market and ease of use. And what we're trying to solve for the engineering market is providing a much more easy to use HPC infrastructure on the cloud. And there are three things that Rescale brings into the game. The first one is help you with solving the complexity of running simulations. So today, simulations are becoming more and more complex. And it's kind of like you're trying to get accuracy and also time. And to do that, you sometimes need to have a large capacity of high performance computing. With the Rescale platform, you can scale as much as you want. And you can also have all of the latest and greatest versions of Future Facilities updated in the cloud with Rescale. The second thing is variable demand. So we understand that your cycles are not exactly always flat, meaning in sometimes you have some peaks where you want to run more runs, and sometimes you have the weekend or the holidays where things are not too busy. With the cloud, you could get variable demand when you need it in different locations for different groups, and also with the different type of hardware that you want for your simulation. And last but not least, the total cost of ownership. With Rescale, you don't have to pay any capital in advance. All of the HPC infrastructure is managed on the cloud, and you don't need to worry about that. So there are four things that you get as a benefit. One is, again, accelerating time to market by just using unlimited capacity. Reduce the capital expenditures you have and getting the different hardware that you want. And also from an IT perspective, we allow IT team to become much more agile by the ability to access different global data centers with cloud HPC infrastructure. And it's also an on-demand SaaS platform, which means it's very easy to use. It's web-based, and you'll see a demo on that later in the presentation. So as I mentioned, we have about 36 data centers in 28 locations with different type of hardware in different location. It means that if you are a large company and you have several teams across the globe, then Different teams can choose to use different data centers next to their locations. Last but not least, before we go into the demo, when you run Rescale, you get a full dashboard about who is using the software, how many cores were consumed, and that's something that can be managed. So as an IT person, you could actually get a visibility for usage. You could control specific things like cost, hardware, specific software of future facilities that you want to use and have your team use. All of those are configurable for the Rescale administration dashboard. And security. So with cloud comes also very robust security. Rescale is certified on different industry standards such as SOC 2. And we also have ITAR compliant data centers. We are putting a major amount of effort around security. All the data is being encrypted from the user desktop through the cloud. When we store it in the cloud, it's being encrypted. We also we don't really share clusters, which means that if you run a cluster, you're the only one leveraging this cluster. And of course, when the run is done and the files are saved and they are being encrypted as well. We are happy to provide more information about security for your security IT architect if there is a need for that. So with that, I'm going to transition to Mark and Tom. They're going to share more about future facilities and show us a demo of the solution. Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Okay, thank you very much, Zach. So just make sure we're presenting. There we go. That's we're up and running. Okay, thank you for that introduction. So my name's Mark Fenton. I'm also joined by Tom Gregory. We're two of the product managers here at Future Facilities, and really today it's a really exciting time for us to be able to sort of demonstrate the partnership we've got with Rescale and the capabilities that we're going to provide to you as our users by using our simulation technology on the cloud. So for those of you who don't know much about us, I'm just going to give you a very quick introduction to Future Facilities and our software, but then Tom will show a demonstration of how the 6Sigma tool set will work with Rescale. So starting off with the company, we've been running for about 14 years, and we really have been leading, I'd say, the use of CFD in both data centers and electronics industries throughout that time. Now we're a UK-based company. Our headquarters is here in London, but we have got offices in United States, in Japan, and we have a pretty large global network of distributors that offer support and services throughout the globe. We're used globally by both electronics manufacturers and then also data center designers and in consultants, and more we're seeing our tools being used in operations for live data center deployments. We also have an in-house professional services engineering team who offer support, training, as well as a consultancy service ourselves. So we have two main product lines. On the left there we've got 6Sigma ET, which is used for electronics thermal simulation, and specifically this is focused on ensuring that electronics are well designed from a thermal aspect to ensure that there is no overheating. Overheating in electronics can cause lots of performance issues as well as reliability problems. So it's a critical tool in making sure that you design your electronics devices to not have any of these thermal issues. And as we move over to the right, 6Sigma DCX has been specifically designed for the data center industry. And again, as I mentioned, this is used by consultants for design and troubleshooting, but also in operation of live mission-critical data centers. So we're just about to release our 10th version, and that's going to be imminently in the next week, I'd say. We're going to be bringing 6Sigma DCX and 6Sigma ET version 10. And you can see that one of the main pillars of this release is the cloud solving technology with our partnership with Rescale. So we're really excited about what this can do for us in terms of getting our results out quickly and also helping us with the compute power that are required for simulations. So just a slide on some of our users. These are kind of broken up from left to right. On the left-hand side, in the first two columns, are typical designers, whether they're electronics products or data center products. These are some of the hardware manufacturers. Then we move into the next vertical, which is some of the consultants that would use our tools for design and also troubleshooting. Then as we move into our fourth vertical, that's more on the operational side, so some of the customers who use our management tools. And then on the right side, we've got sort of more hyperscale customers who would use 6Sigma ET for designing of some of the hardware, right through to 6Sigma DCX for managing the live sites as well. And then the final corner is the colo customers, and this obviously is a big emerging market in data centers, and we have some of the big customers there as well. Now, as we move into sort of typical sort of models that we see our customers make, the top line again really focusing on the electronics, whether it's kind of lighting or LEDs, or moving for external electronics, sort of mobile phone base stations in the second image. Consumer electronics, so the camera there, and then finally looking at robotics as well. And really what we're demonstrating here is that it's a very wide range of models, lots of possibilities on the detail, especially things like on the last image there on the right, the curved shape, which traditionally has been very difficult for CFD software to handle, is something that we're very used to modeling in our tool set. And as you then drop into the second line, this is where the crossover between ET and DCX occurs at the servers. So, you know, the insides of the electronics would be modeled within 6Sigma ET, but we offer solutions that take you all the way through the data center space, from hardware design into designing the white space. And then as we see the data center industry moving more into efficiencies of using the outside environment, more of our customers are looking at free cooling scenarios, using more outside air, and so we have the tool set now to offer that capabilities. So for the crux of why we're here today, really why are we moving our technologies onto the cloud? And as Zach mentioned in the introduction, this does tackle various issues with simulation for us. So we'll move through those very quickly. The first one being the challenge of speed. We see our customers really requiring results quickly to really add business value. And whether this is designing the latest piece of hardware and you've got a time to market pressure, you've got competition pressure, you don't want to be waiting for compute resource or for you know, days and weeks for simulation results. So we really require results at a much more quicker time frame. And as we're moving also into the operational side for data centers, we're seeing facility managers wanting to make business decisions on a day-to-day basis using simulation, but again, they can't wait around for weeks for results. They need to have results, you know, within the day, within an hour, to be able to make the next deployment decision. The next challenge we have to tackle is the challenge of scale. Now, we've already talked about the products moving across a wide variety of problems, whether it's the internals of circuitry, which we're showing on the right-hand side, right through to modeling data centers that are tens of thousands of square feet with hundreds, maybe thousands of cabinets and certainly thousands of pieces of IT. And as we move into the outside space, we're also seeing that the size of those models can exceed kilometers. So it's a real broad breadth of detail in terms of scale. But also we're seeing technologies becoming more sophisticated. We're seeing the margins are getting tighter, and so we're really requiring more detailed modeling with a better level of accuracy. And as we see that the models increase in complexity, there's a bigger and bigger demand on the hardware in terms of the compute RAM that you need, and also processing power. So this is where our new sort of solution with Rescale is particularly exciting. Now, there's also this constant battle that we see between speed and accuracy, and engineers traditionally have to make compromises to the level of detail that they would put into a model to ensure that they can get results in a timely manner. And there are a lot of simpler tools on the market, I'd say, that remove many of the important details to give you a sort of instant CFD-like, we hear that phrase quite a lot, CFD-like results, where the important information has been removed, it's not even accessible, and it's a very simplified model just to give you results on an instant time frame. But now with this solution, utilizing the cloud, the on-demand compute, we're actually able to deliver you the best of both worlds. So you can now have models with high levels of accuracy without getting the results at a very quick turnaround as well. So Zach mentioned the typical hardware challenges that we see. Now, this is a graph you may have seen something similar before, where we track the required usage through a project, and especially for simulation, you might spend a lot of time actually doing the modeling of your particular model rather than doing any solving. But then the solution might come at the end of the project, where you might then be required to do multiple simulations. And if that happens to clash with other projects, you then find there's a huge demand for your compute power, all condensed into one short period of time. So if we take this particular graph as an example of where you might be using compute, where the red bars are your requirements, you have to make a decision when you're using on-premise at what point you're going to supply hardware and at what level in terms of RAM and process power. Now, so that dashed line represents your on-premise hardware. Any of the yellow area is basically your wasted resource, where you're not using that hardware, and yes, you've already paid for it, but it's sitting there idle. But probably worse for your projects will be the red bars that we see, where the hardware that you've purchased in-house doesn't meet the demand, and this constitutes you waiting for your simulation, either waiting for a license to become available or waiting for a hardware machine to become available. And that's going to slow you down in getting your results out to your customers. So where we see the transition to cloud in the first instance is what's known as cloud overflow, where when you come to a point where you no longer have on-premise capabilities, either you haven't got a machine or licenses available, you're then able to go onto the cloud and purchase on-demand licensing and compute to make sure that you meet the demand all the way through your project. And then where we see the sort of final transition is that you may and we're certainly starting to see that here. You may even decide that you'll move all of solving capability onto the cloud rather than having expensive hardware solutions on-premise, and that you only do the pre- and post-processing on lower-powered laptops or lower-powered desktop PCs. And to give you an example of a typical benchmark, so this is a very typical data center model that will see 10,000 square foot, roughly about 400 cabinets with 6,000 pieces of IT. And for those who know about grid numbers, 35 million grid cells is not a particularly huge case, but it's getting large. And we use a typical machine here, Future Facility, which is a 4-core license. Again, that's what most of our customers will have, and on a total solve time is about just under 7 hours for this case. Now, if we actually load this case up to Rescale, run it at 64 cores, we can get this time down to just under an hour, 55 minutes. So now we're talking about getting results over a lunch break rather than having to wait overnight. And I'm going to be able to run 7 or 8 runs at the same period of time that I've traditionally only been able to run once. So really incredible speed up, and for our projects, particularly when we're under time pressure or if there's a lot of projects going on, this has been a huge improvement for us. So that's it for the introduction. I'm now going to hand over to Tom, who's going to show you the integration in live with our software. Thank you very much. Over to you, Tom.
Thanks very much, Mark. So yeah, I'm going to give you a quick demo of how to solve using 6Sigma UT on Rescale. So I'm using 6Sigma UT in this example, but it's identical process for 6Sigma DCX. So you've got a model, so you can build up a model on your normal machine, which may be a fairly low-powered machine. And once you've built up the model, instead of solving on a local machine, and your local machine might not have the hardware required to solve it, we can then go ahead and solve on the cloud. So the first step in solving on the cloud is to export the model into a cloud zip, and we could do this on the solve ribbon of the software. So I'm going to export this to the cloud and then save that zip ready for the simulation. So I'm now going to go on to the Rescale Web Portal. So we can log into this just through the Rescale website, and with me it'll log straight in because we've integrated it with a single sign-on. So we've got all the models that I've run in the past, so it stores all your models for you. And this allows you to also to collaborate with colleagues in your department, so I can share the models with my colleagues as well for them to review and analyze the results. Well, I'm going to go ahead and create a new job to solve that server chassis model that I showed you a second ago. So I'm going to click on new job, and I'm going to upload that zip that I created up to the Rescale platform, and you see that will upload in the background. And then I'm going to select the software. So we've worked with Rescale to create a special version of our solver for 6Sigma UT and 6Sigma DCX that works on the cloud, and we've integrated this with the software, and you'll always find the latest version of the software on Rescale. So I'm now going to select 6Sigma UT as a 6Sigma UT model. You'll see there's also room and room light there as well. And then we've got two options for licensing. So we have developed some new licensing so that you can take advantage of the power of the hardware on the cloud. So you can either purchase a license, which purchases a license on an hourly basis, depending on your usage, or you can connect to your license server and use your existing license usage. So if you've got a 8-core machine on your license server, you can connect that license server and get that 8-core usage. But to really take advantage of the power of the cloud, I'm going to click purchase license and purchase an hourly license based on my solve time. So the next thing I do is select the hardware. We've worked with Rescale to find the most optimum hardware to solve on the cloud. So the machines we've picked have got enough RAM to solve our models, enough memory, they've got enough storage, they've got high-speed interconnect or networking, and fast processors. So we've got two options, iron and granite. Iron is for the bigger jobs and granite are for slightly smaller jobs. So I'm going to pick iron, and then we can select how many cores we want to run on. So I'm going to pick 16 cores. But we can go all the way up to 256 cores, and in the future maybe more than that. So we've got 128 gigabytes of memory for this run, almost 400 gigabytes of storage, and 16 cores ready to solve. So the last thing I do is I'm just going to select a project. So this project allocates this to the right budget, so I can keep account of how much I've spent on solving on the cloud. So it's as simple as that. So once it's done, I just hit submit, and it'll go away and run the solve on Rescale's hardware. It does take a few minutes to start up and start the cluster and start solving. So I'm going to skip to a model that is currently running at the moment. So this is the same model, but I just set it off running a few minutes ago. I just want to show you what you can see during the solve. So what we've done is we try to match it to the same data you can see in the 6Sigma ET and 6Sigma DCX software. So you can see the residual graph as we go through the result. So we can see the convergence of the model. We can also look at the monitor data, so things like component temperature, which you'll see here, but also fan temperature, AC supply and return temperatures, all the same data that you'll be able to see in the software we can see on Rescale as we go through the solution. As you may have seen by that email popping up, Rescale sends an email to inform you of every step in the process, so you get an indication of when the model starts, but also when a model has completed. So when a model is completed, we get an email which says that the model has been completed, and we can click on that and then start to look at the results. So we've got all the results of the simulation here, packaged up as a zip file. So I'm now going to download the results. I'm using the Rescale Transfer Manager, which just makes the download really simple and also really quick. So I can select a folder to put that in, and then it will go ahead and start downloading the result. So obviously this is a cloud service. We're reliant on internet connection to download the models, so this may take some time, but what we find is that the amount of time it takes to download is small compared to the overall time saving. So with the example Mark gave earlier, you save 6 hours by solving on Rescale, and it will take a few minutes to download. So that's now finished downloading the results. So now all we need to do is import the results back into our model. So again, into the solve ribbon, click on Cloud Solve, import from the cloud, and we then select the zip file containing the result, and then click open, and that will go ahead and import the results from the simulation. So we can then go ahead and view the results. So we've got a result plane here, which indicates we've now got all the results in from the simulation that we ran on the cloud. In the future, in the next few months, actually, we'll have a viewer available on Rescale, so you'll be able to view the results on Rescale. Well, and you know, once this model is solved, I can now easily share this result with my colleagues. So I could then, for example, email Mark and just say my results are done. So yeah, so that just gives you a very brief, very quick demo of how you solve with Rescale. Very quick and easy. Just export the model, upload to Rescale, a quick configuration, hit solve, and you'll get an email when it's done, and then you can download the results and import it into your model. So that sort of concludes the presentation and the demo. So I'll now sort of see if you've got any questions, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Thank you, Mark and Tom, for the overview and the presentation. Again, at Rescale, we are excited to have Future Facilities as a partner. So if anybody has any questions, just submit them through the UI interface. There is one question over here. Do you have a data center location in Europe? So the answer is yes. We have about 36 data centers worldwide. One of them, actually in Europe, we have two options in different locations, and that can help you keep the data within Europe if you choose to do that. Okay, I can see another question over here. Which is the pricing scheme? Yeah, so for the pricing scheme, there is basically two things you want to think about. One is the price you would pay for the hardware. The price you pay for the hardware is presented at Rescale when you actually choose the specific hardware. You have a few options for the hardware. One option is instant, which is basically consume the hardware when you want it at the spot. The other option is doing a prepaid option. So typically customers would understand kind of like how much hours they're going to consume over a certain period of time. And based on that, they would get a prepaid solution, which is typically significantly cheaper. For the software option, you have two options. One is you could purchase an on-demand license, or you could leverage your existing license that you have with Future Facilities. And for the actual pricing itself, this is something you can contact the Future Facilities, and they can help you on that. Anything you want to add, Mark or Tom, on that question?
No, that covers it. So yeah, just please get in touch with us, and we'll explain the pricing depending on your needs and your requirements.
Okay, I have another question over here. How about the data center location in China? So today we don't have a data center in China. It's something we are working on, but we have data centers which are in proximate location in Asia that the transfer time for those data centers is very short. You can contact me later after this webinar, and we can provide some more information on that. Another question is how to charge the solving on Rescale. So I think it's the same question we covered in the first one, which is about the pricing. So again, there's two elements for the pricing, one for the hardware, one for the software, and we covered that before.
Yeah, just to add to that, Zach, so the solving pricing, the price of solving is calculated by Rescale, and then is billed through Rescale.
Okay, if anybody has any more questions, please send them now. Yeah, there's another question over here. I have a 6Sigma DC license. Is there a trial account for testing Rescale platform? Actually, that's an excellent question. Yes, we do offer a trial. The trial will provide you with a hardware credit of about $50, and I think it's about 10 hours of software time with on-demand software time with Future Facilities. So actually, after this webinar, we're going to send an email to all of the attendees, and we'll give you the option to use the coupon for that to consume the trial credit. Okay, we'll give it one more minute, and then we're going to end the session if we don't get any more questions. Okay, so we're not getting any more questions. Again, we are honored to have a Future Facilities partner with us and work with Rescale to offer the best solution on the cloud. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you, Mark and Tom, for the session.
Thank you very much.